Great. All right, so this is episode 5 of Basslines Banter. We're here at Kinfolk 90 with Charlotte.
Hi.
We
Spurge.
also have our friends Natalie and Rachel from Pond DJing in the background. Got a good amount of people here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're just going to jump right in. So, Charlotte, you are a music supervisor,
All right.
as well as DJ and radio host. And let's just start off by, I guess, saying, how long have you been in New York for?
9 years.
9 years?
Almost 9 years and a half. But as you can hear, I have not lost the French accent.
I guess you didn't pick that up here. You didn't pick that up here, did you?
Yeah, no, it's still sticking.
True. So why did you decide to move to New York? I'm curious.
Well, it was back in 2009, and there was a crisis starting in France, like a job crisis. And I think I'd never really worked in France. I just had done one internship in the music. And my dad is German, my mom is French, and I've always been growing up with in an environment where I was pushed to go abroad and see other people. And to me, like staying in France, as much as I love my country, also meant being in a comfort zone, and I think you get very creative when you are not in your comfort zone. And because this crisis was coming up, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to see what I can find. And sooner than later, actually, I got this opportunity to work for the French Music Export Office in the US.
Okay.
And then I moved to New York in 2009.
That's cool. So you came over with that job?
Yeah, I mean, It was not that easy. I was competing with 200 people, I think.
Okay.
And I almost did not apply for it. And my sister was like, you should do it. And I did it, and then I got it. So I was very lucky.
Nice, that's cool. So when you started there, what was your role? Like, what were you doing in general for the French export?
I was like project manager, and my role was to help bridging the two like music industries between America and France, and just get to know the US industry better and promote the French bands in the US, create collaborations. And
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So did you always like plan on working in music? Or were you like working in music before this job as well?
I almost got hired by The Economist, the magazine. I also wanted to work more in like art. Like I worked for an antique dealer. I worked for Phaidon, the art publishing house. I was really interested in photography publishing. And then I think one day I woke up and I was like, no, I need to do music. I grew up in a music environment, and everybody was like, shouldn't do it. It's like you're not gonna survive from it. And then you know, the artistic bug was like, no,
it's like
stronger.
I'm gonna just do it.
Yes. Yeah,
because you, growing up, like, what was your relationship with music? Because I saw that you played clarinet, right?
Yeah. So my dad doesn't read music. And since I was a kid, he was like showing us a lot of jazz, mostly New Orleans jazz, but also modern jazz. But he really like showed me everything from like Charles Mingus and Scott Joplin and Ella Fitzgerald, and Louis Armstrong, of course.
Nice.
And so I grew up with this. My mom is more like classical oriented, but she also was living in the US, so she couldn't stop speaking about the Rolling Stones and the Beatles from the UK.
Oh, that's good. So you got like both coming in. Yes.
So they put me in a classical music school. I was learning music theory for like 10 years. My teacher was from the opera in Paris. And then I was too rigid. And I had to do all these sort of things which are like super tough in the classical world, where you need to read like a music sheet and sing right away. And of course it's super difficult. Then I got terrified, I left, and then my dad was like, wait a minute, let's all create a family band together. And so I started playing jazz with my sister and my dad, yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
But I'm not going to do a show though.
What did everybody play?
So the big secret that I never say, but I'm going to say it here, VIP secret, is I play the washboard. Yeah, and I still
Sonny loves it.
I still do play the washboard. I have a collection of dices, which is very impressive. So I just revealed a big secret that nobody knows.
That's so cool.
My little sister played the cello, my older sister played the piano, and my dad really played like everything: clarinet, saxophone, trombone, trumpet, harmonica, and he has that in his blood.
That's so cool. That's amazing.
I mean, I'm not gonna play the washboard in front of you. No way.
Next time you're here, we'll have you do a performance. That's really sick, though, that you kind of had that foundation. So you moved over to America with this job, and you kind of got to know, it seemed like, the U.S. music industry that way through it.
Yeah, and I think, and I never talk about the washboard because it has a little cheesy side, but actually, I grew up with it when I was 5 years old, and my dad really showed me how to improvise, and I think it built kind of a sense of rhythm and an interest in percussions.
Yeah.
And soon, next week I'm gonna start probably a class with a Brazilian batucada group to really learn the foundations again, and I think it really gave me an interest in this.
In that.
So nice. I'm not replying to your question right now. I'm sorry.
No. It's not you. That's really cool. I didn't realize that. That's nice.
My little secret. Exclusive for your collective.
So having this musical sense, having kind of an itch to continue to do this, moving to the US, what was it like for you moving to New York and discovering the music scene and unearthing it here initially? Like, coming here, I guess, did you already have a community? Did you know people? Or
So I lived in Berlin 12 years ago as a student, and I had met one American friend, and she was living in New York. Now she actually moved back to Berlin.
Okay.
And I was the only person I knew, along with my mom's best friend, who is 70 years old, who is my second mom, because my mom lived here 40 years ago. And that's it. And then I got my job, but I followed my parents' advice. I did not hang out with French people to the point, and I was like, I'm not gonna even go to a French restaurant. So even after 3 years, I never had eaten at a French restaurant, and my mom was like, don't you think you're a bit extreme? But yeah, and after that, I think it all started when I went to a show during CMJ of an Israeli artist whose name was Onili. She was very talented. And there I met people who brought me to a party on Broadway. It was in October 2009. And then I met a Japanese friend. And then the group was bigger. We had one loft, which doesn't exist anymore or might come back, in the Jewish area. And then there's a lot of artists there who are still my friends, who still have albums out. And from there, I was connected with the people at 285 Kent and Glasslands and Death by Audio and on and on and on and on. And yeah.
You saw so many different, just the rise of the Brooklyn music scene.
Yeah, it was, I mean, this building has been existing for a while, but yeah, the street next to here has changed a lot in the last 9 years, yeah.
So many hotels now.
Yeah, so I know, it's like meatpacking district.
Yeah. Cool. So you were inundated in the music scene. You were bringing a lot of French artists over, correct? And trying to build this relationship up. And then you transitioned over. Did you kind of go from that into doing more music supervision, or what was sort of your career path at this point? If you at this 2009 sort of.
So I worked for the French Music Export Office until 2011.
Okay.
And then I was supposed to leave technically because it was just a contract for 2 years. And then I was like, no, I can't leave, it's too early. So I decided to submit my application to work for Giant Step, which is that big promoter that a lot of people know here. Maurice Bernstein, the founder, brought the acid jazz scene in New York almost 30 years ago. Okay. And he's done a lot of shows with Charles Peterson, The Roots, Q-Tip. And I got very lucky. I got hired there. I owe him a lot regarding my hip-hop culture, jazz culture as well. And then I helped him organizing the shows, running the coordination on the show. So we had a big residency with Q-Tip, which was of course amazing, and Ali Shahid Muhammad and Giles. And then we started to do more events with brands. And then after 2 years, I was like, I loved it, but I need to be even closer to the music. So I started helping pitch bands with a friend, pitching bands to music supervisors, and then eventually I got my first music music supervisor position, which is still the same. It's advice.
Okay, cool. So this, you're saying like this, do you think maybe we can ask them to turn it down like a little bit? I think you guys can turn it down like a little bit. Yeah, it's so loud. You expressed like this interest to be closer to bands. What do you, so now that you've been in this role for a while, like what are you doing to work with bands or help bands, or like what is this closeness? Like what, I guess like what does your role entail from like maybe working with artists to the like going from like an artist end to like where you are to like client end with like brands and stuff? Like explain what you do, I guess.
So music supervision is placing music against the picture. You are never alone. You work with a director, a creative, an editor. Each person has a crucial role. I am kind of the person putting all the people together. I'm also giving my ideas, and sometimes people don't know where to go, which direction, and I'm like, no, I think you should go this direction.
Okay.
So there's a lot of my day-to-day is giving advice about budgets to our budget people to make sure that it's like not too low, defending the rights of music, and then being in the edit room in the editor being like, okay, I think you should maybe use that portion of the track, this, and then working with the creative to make sure they are satisfied and the director. So, and then on the band side, like I just negotiate the rights with them, but I make sure also that the track is like representing them, that we don't change their identity, that they are satisfied with how things go, because of course you don't want to destroy the identity of a band.
Yeah.
And I try to give them opportunities. I have the chance to work on content which is not just commercials but branded content. So the difference between branded content and commercial is that with branded content you have like a 10-minute spot, for example. It's not a 30-second commercial. You tell a story. Okay. You just have like maybe a little bit of product placement, but it's not as aggressive. And that means that we have more flexibility to work with any band. It doesn't need to be a famous band. In fact, that's what we like.
Nice.
So I think it's really a new model which is giving more opportunities to indie bands, and I'm trying as much as possible to work with bands who, because all the big bands, they are known and they are used and reused, and it's great. They don't need, like, they have all the recognition they need. And I think on the music supervision side, it's actually more fun to have the challenge to be like, oh, I'm going to actually reveal that band.
Yeah.
It's great.
Kind of on that note, what is like your experience with DJing and like digging and record finding, and like how does that come into play with this role as well,
Well, I wish I could place all the tracks that I find, but sometimes there's like samples, so that sucks. But yeah, I'm fortunate enough that I have a lot of friends around me who are DJs, radio hosts as well, and some of them have their own stores. So, every time I go to a store, I get inspired by all these friends. It's like a word of mouth. And I think it's the best source of inspiration. And I have been able to place and pitch music that I discovered at a store. Especially when you need to work on content which needs music from a specific era or from a specific country. I'm a big defender of using the sound from the local country. Sometimes we don't have big budgets, so people will tell you, you can do sound like, but no, like, there is an identity between music from Côte d'Ivoire and Senegal. It's two different identities, and sometimes people are like, music from Africa, but no, it's different.
Yeah.
So I think it's the role of the music supervisor is to get to know all these identities, and through record stores, I think I have a huge respect to these people. I just played at the Mixtape Club with my friend Erica and Brian, and these guys are heroes. Like the patience that they have. So I think any music supervisor has always credits to share with everybody else. It's like it's a team spirit thing.
That's cool. I feel like in DJ culture, some people are like, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. In terms of like the music that they're playing, some people are kind of private, and like music supervision is almost the exact opposite, where you're like, I want you to know like this thing that I've discovered and get it out, things of the sort.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I discovered it before you," but it's sad because it's not the goal of music, and actually you don't help artists when you do that.
Yeah,
and I know,
true.
I mean, it's tough sometimes to go beyond your ego, but hey, like in the first place, if you know about the track, it's because of someone else. So return the favor.
Do you have any particular meaningful experiences, maybe working with a particular artist, or like finding somebody that wasn't that well known and like placing them or something of the sort?
Should have prepared that question. It's like telling me what do you like as music, and then I'm blanking. Oh no!
All right, this year maybe. So like I know something that you worked on. You worked on this HBO show.
Yes.
Really big, Random Acts of Blindness.
Yeah.
And you placed a lot of people. Was there an experience from that in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I will share the credit with Terrence Nance, who's the director, but I think we had like a really good experience collaborating, like same, really similar music taste. Yeah, we work with like 4 different composers, John Bapp, Nick Hakim, Emile Mosseri, Nelson Nance, who is Terrence's brother, and actually also Jory Nance is his older brother, and Terrence is composer himself. I think working with all these people was amazing, very passionate people. It was a very tight timeline, and it was a work of love, and people were here because Terrence was directing and wanted to talk about the conditions of African American rights in the U.S. And it was not about, oh no, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time. No, it was like, we want to do it because it's so important this year, and I think that was really beautiful. And each person improvised, worked super hard, was very inspired, and that whole environment was very positive. Yeah,
that's good.
And then all the artists involved, like they were all excited. And they're all excited for the season 2, which is coming up. And
congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Terrence. I can't wait, but...
That's cool. I'm curious, you were mentioning working with composers. How does like composition and using composers working with like finding the rights to music and bringing in pre-produced rights and like within your role, like working in that? Like just in general, like how does like what do you do with working with composers on like a show or something of the sort?
So you mean what's the day-to-day?
Or I guess like how do the roles fit in together with like bringing in somebody who I guess is composing original music, maybe on a similar, on the same project or working around, or like for you, are you giving direction based off of things you're finding and stuff like that, or like?
So you're talking about generally speaking for any project.
I guess, but I guess I was curious because you were just kind of mentioning that a little bit with Random Acts of Flyness.
So Random Acts of Flyness, I did help coordinate, but Terrence was already working on the cues with the composers who are his friends before I started. So I inserted myself to follow up with them, sometimes to give suggestions, but I was more... because he was directly with them in the studio, I would say that I was more involved with, coordinating, giving suggestions, and also in the music supervision, generally like pitching tracks, giving references. But on the day-to-day, when I work with composers, I'm writing the brief at the beginning in collaboration with a creative. They come up with like a topic or a theme, and I'm like translating everything that they're saying in a more musical way.
Okay.
And then I give them additional ideas. I give them additional suggestions, references, schedule to make sure that everything goes smoothly, and I coordinate the creative calls because sometimes when someone say, can you make it cooler? Well, then you have to make sure that, it means something for the composer, so yeah.
Yeah, true. Cool. We'll do a random question, switch it up too.
I'm scared.
Have you eaten at a French restaurant since you moved here now?
Yes. Yes, there's a bunch of them, yeah.
Do you have a favorite dish at a restaurant in New York?
I really like the ratatouille. and that's why I'm actually gonna ask you to say it in English or in French because it's super difficult.
The ratatouille.
That is way too American. You see me to say ratatouille. Come on, Spurge, come on.
Ratatouille.
Yeah, cheating a bit. Yeah, it's like vegetable roasted from the south of France, Provence. Yeah, it's very simple. Otherwise, like a coq au vin, which is like chicken with wine. And yeah, I'll bring you to a French restaurant.
Please, yeah. I think my first time in New York was the first time I had like I had duck confit here for the first time.
Nice.
Do you remember that there was like the French restaurant on the Jefferson L? Like over there? Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Down. Yeah.
Oh, it closed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Mimoun, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, no, not Moomin, yeah. It's like right when you get off at the Jefferson, there was like kind of where House of Yes is. Like,
oh, yeah. No, I know. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
Hearing the news with you, I didn't know.
And then there's what? Beef tartare, that's the raw beef one.
You know more than me.
I also, first time in New York, I had that as well, like my first summer.
Yeah, there's Le Gamin, there's Lucien, there's absinthe, with a really good absinthe, and then you go nuts.
Yeah.
I'll bring you to one. We should go to Le Gamin around here.
I love Le Gamin. So.
I actually went there to, I was doing a training of barista there right before I started doing music supervision.
Oh, cool. So you can make some good cappuccinos?
Yeah, no.
Never made any for me at the lot.
Yeah, well, no, it was not great.
All right, next time you come in the morning, I'm going to have you make a drink as well.
Okay, well, I'll get ready because I'm probably going to splash my face.
Let's see. So I'm curious, what advice would you give to maybe there's an indie band or somebody starting out and like they're still understanding and navigating the industry? What's a good way to try and like either research on like who's active within like more like, you know, music or like just in general like how to reach out and go about understanding that? I feel like most people, oh yeah, sorry. I gotta hold it closer. A lot of people, you know, are like, they think, all right, I have my music, I'm gonna put it on Spotify, and they don't realize that there are like other ways to share music. So what advice would you have to maybe younger artists for trying to get to like your ears and as well as like understand that entry point?
I think it's a really good question. I think Spotify for sure. Also because now I think they are changing their model and I think I'm not a specialist, but I think you don't have to go through someone necessarily. You can almost like upload. I mean, I know it's changing. SoundCloud for sure, Bandcamp, and then you should just send it to like DJs from like local radios. The lot. Like I got my first package the other day from my radio show, Broken English. Every other Sunday, I'm doing like self-promotion right now.
Really good. There's this fire guest too.
Every other Sunday from 10 a.m. to 12. Spurge was my first barista.
Yes.
I was very stressed out, and
I love the one when you brought Malcolm from Cannes was so memorable.
Yeah, Malcolm. Yeah, I mean, it was my second show actually, and then I didn't know really how to use the mixer because at the lot you have to be independent, and it's great, but you have to learn quickly, and so the mixer had like. A delay effect activated, and I didn't know where it was, and then Malcolm started to have his voice echoing, and I was like, that's kind of cool. It's kind of like actually the concept of Cannes about looping, and then I was like, nah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And then we had to re-record, and then it went great, and then he became a friend. But yeah, back to your question. I'm distracted. Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Spotify, sending the music to local radios for sure, sending music to podcasts. I am listening to Giles' show every week.
Oh yeah.
And I have made tons of discoveries thanks to him, and I think that's really important to NTS. But I think each radio, like NTS or The Lot, should actually probably have an account where they can get like submissions from bands, and then you could just dig. because seriously, like the radio to me is still the best, one of the best discoveries for me personally.
Okay, all right.
I'm getting music like every day. I'm probably getting like 100 emails of music every day. So as you can imagine, I can listen to.
So hard, yeah.
I keep them, but I can listen to them right away. Otherwise, I would never work.
Yeah.
I wish I could listen to them, not work, but
yeah.
I think that's good. And then you should also send your music, if possible, to some third-party agencies. You have music licensing agencies which are specialized in pitching music, and they have all the relationship, and they know how to speak to us. And it's important because, I mean, I actually respond as much as I can to direct submissions from artists, but sometimes when I really don't know them, I need to be also, unfortunately, suspicious. Sometimes I've been in situations where people don't know when they are talking about it, when I'm asking them if they have a sample or not, and that can be tricky. Versus when you work with a sync agency, they know. So I would recommend to try to pitch your music to these agencies. And the last thing, which is absolutely crucial, make sure that anytime you record music, you have instrumental versions available. Because it sounds like a small advice, but it's a huge one. For the last 4 years, I've used, at my job advice, I've used like maybe 2% of vocal tracks. Because when you have a lot of voiceover, you need to have instrumentals. So you could lose an opportunity if you don't have instrumentals. Also, super important, tag your music, put your contact, make sure that we can find you, because we get, as I say, sometimes like 500 tracks. And the other day I had to listen to 600 tracks, and in 2 hours, nearly down to like 20 tracks.
Okay.
And so I want to know where the music that I'm sending is coming from. And if I can't find the person, I'm like, done.
Yeah, you just keep going, I'm sure.
And then last thing is know your ownership. So if you co-wrote the track with someone else, make sure before you pitch it that it's clear if you own 100% or if there's a co-writer. Also, I know it sounds very admin thing, like administrative, but it's going to save you so much time later on. And it's also like clarifying your relationship with your other like friends. And make sure that there is no samples. So a sample is, just so people understand, if you record a cover, if you do a cover of someone else, it's not your copyright. So you have to clear that with a person.
Okay.
Or you have to tell us.
Yeah.
If you are using the drums of a track from I don't know, give me a name, because of course
like James Brown or something.
Exactly, James Brown. Well, then it's not yours. Like it's still from him. Or even if it's not his recording, but it's like inspired from. Be very careful, because you could lose a relationship with someone. You could be in a bad
Is there
radar.
like a time? What is it? Is it like if it's like 3 seconds or something, is it considered a sample, or do you know if there's like?
I think anything which is not yours is a
Just
sample.
anything. Okay, all right.
Let's make it a hard rule.
It's just hard. Yes or no. I'm curious too, because we just saying in terms of like the administrative stuff, how much like legal knowledge do you need to know, and on that side of like, you know, acquiring rights to music? Do you feel like that's something you have to employ for yourself a lot, is like understanding like contracts and all that? Is that part of your job as well?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the entities. You have some agencies where creative are separated from the legal side. I think it's very important to know everything, because if you pitch music to a director, you need to know how much approximately it's going to be, and otherwise you're wasting the time of the director. So it's important to know how to negotiate, to understand what are the samples, what it means to have a copyright, what is like PRO, like ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, which is also something that you should always work with. Like you should register your tracks, because you can get additional revenues. And when I get contracts, so I write the templates or I review the contracts, there's always like clauses which I need to check to make sure that our clients are protected. So yeah, it's unlimited. It's like a knowledge which is unlimited, because you can't. The laws are changing all the time, so you need to be super careful about that. But I'm weirdly enough, I am more able to talk about music licensing in English than I am in my native language.
Really?
Yes, that's weird. Just because you have like technical terms. So.
True. Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any particular acts or anybody that you're excited about right now that you've found through digging? That's also another question. I'm like, that's such an expansive one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I love. I mean, I love everybody. So I don't want to be like. I'm not doing like. Oh yeah, I prefer. I don't know if I should.
Boom.
Black and white. Okay, give me a genre, and I will give you like a band that I like.
All right, cool. Let's see. Is there anybody, maybe an older person that people? Because a lot of times in music, if people are looking for really young musicians, like super young people, is there anybody who you might have discovered that might have just slipped under the radar, like they just like had music that should be reissued or something? Like anybody that's like super old that you've kind of come across some stuff? That's not really a genre, but I'm just trying to think.
No, there are a ton. But the thing is, right now it's difficult. Or they were reissued. I think. There's a bunch of people in. Yeah, I mean, every time I go to a record store, I'm like, wow, is that record gonna be reissued? I mean, I was dreaming to hear.
Is there a different process for that, especially finding music where like maybe it's, I imagine, harder to reach some people? It's like some dusty record from like. Oh yeah. Whatever.
So I can tell you a story.
Please.
Let me just get a sip. I can come back to you. I can come back to the question about like bands.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big challenge for music supervisors to find the writers. I actually love it when I have time. Yeah. It's kind of you feel like you are like Sherlock Holmes because
it's like an investigative reporter.
No, literally. And if you talk to a label like Numero Group, which has done such a great job reissuing Light in the Attic, like these people. I mean, I've said that with another music supervisor, Jocelyn Brown. We both want to publish a book about stories from these labels because they certainly have crazy stories, how they found people. But yeah, I have a couple of stories, but the best one so far is that I had to do that short movie, I think 2 years ago. Okay. And we wanted to use a track from a band which is half well known. I'm not going to say the name, but and one of the writers was impossible to find. Usually the other writers or the other publishers are able to have some information, but nobody knew. And the director was like, I really, really want to have that track. And I really wanted to impress. And I was like, okay, but impossible to find. But I really want to have it. Okay, fine. So I go on the internet like a warrior, like crazy. And then I found out that the guy was dead. Then I found out that he had a wife. And I found out that the wife lives in Las Vegas. But I find like her name like 5 times at different addresses. And I'm like, okay, either I make the fool of myself and I call, or I just like do more research. And then, very creepy of me, I called the funeral house in Iowa, and the guy had like the strongest accent ever, and I'm like, he's never gonna understand who I am, and there is probably like a protection of identity. And the guy was like, no, I'm going to give you the contact of his wife. So I'm calling the wife, who happens to be 90 years old, does not have an email, and asked me to explain the whole scene. And it was about a crime, so I was like very scared that she would deny the use. Yeah. And she's like, well, just send me your request. And I don't send an email because she didn't have an email address. And then I sent an essay, I think of 4 pages that I had typed. I sent it by mail. She approves the use, and then the director kills the scene.
Oh no!
But I kind of loved it because I mean it was a creepy way of getting his contact. But
I mean that's like really investigative reporter.
But it's fun actually because when you get when you are successful, you are like yes.
It's just super satisfying.
Yeah, and these people really need to be repped. They just. Yeah, and last year I had an artist whose music was was going to be like sampled and resampled by a huge hip hop artist, which I won't name. And the guy was just not knowledgeable about rights. And that in this case, I kind of want to put my consulting cap and like help them, because just I need to be objective, but I'm trying, and I think it's our role too, because you can't just let things happen and see people being robbed.
Yeah.
Maybe I talk too much.
Nah.
No, but to go back to your question, there is one artist who I actually talked with our manager this morning, and I think she's gonna go big, and I love her voice. Her name is Gela.
Okay.
And we had her working on a video called The A to Z of Music last year, which I recommend you to see. It was done for the channel ID and Marc Jacobs.
Oh, word. Nice.
It's like doing the translating the alphabet in music through 26 artists with one track composed by Dave Harrington, which was done on the spot, and it was very challenging. And Gela did one quick segment, and she has music coming out soon. I met with her manager this morning, and she has an incredible voice, a little bit like similar to like Sampha, but female version.
Ooh, nice.
And
that would weird, like in a like very unique way.
Yeah, that would be the name. I love John Bapp.
Okay.
Amazing, like distorted music, very raw. Here we go. Now I'm inspired. A label that I love. I mean, I love a lot of labels, but is Soundway from the UK. I love that band called the Moscovitz Dance Band. They do like some electronic cumbia. It sounds cheesy, but it's not at all. It's like, I played a lot at the Lot. I just came back from Colombia, and I met that band called, excuse my accent, Los Gaiteros de San Jacinto, and they are like, it's the oldest cumbia band. The guys are like 88 years old, and I met the grandson of the guy who introduced the accordion in the cumbia band, and these guys had their album being reissued recently, and I saw them in Colombia. It's very rare to see them, and it was beautiful to see how in Colombia you have a lot of respect from the youth to the traditional music, which is not, it's coming back in the United States, I think, and all around the world, but it's taking a little bit more time. This Hailu Mergia, an Ethiopian artist, everybody's always talking about, I'm blanking with names, I'm getting old. Well, Hailu Mergia was signed by Awesome Tapes from Africa. Great one.
Really good. Did he play here like last week or something?
And last year as well.
Yeah.
Classical music. I'm a bit of a weirdo, but it like helps me to focus. I love drony music.
Nice.
So I listen a lot to that band called Stars of the Lead. It's like really like drone music, and they were placed on like on a lot of like movies. On the rock side, Can, Whitney. On the electronic side, I love Trent Muller. I mean, he's not really electronic anymore, but techno, Gastro Lost Work.
Nice.
And a lot more than that.
Good. Big fan of that.
Ron Morelli, and I have so many more. And now, and on the jazz scene, actually, my friend Jason Lindner, who I'm gonna go see in 1 hour at New Blue, he's in a band called Now Versus Now. He also did all the synth for the last album of David Bowie. Okay, I'm talking too much now, so I'm like.
No, you just put on so many people. That's very
and also,
cool.
Your band?
Yes. Oh, yeah, my band, Barry.
And his band?
Sunny. Yeah.
Great music video. Actually, these guys, you don't see them, but I see them. They were in the same video together, so maybe I'm going to switch the interview.
Thank you. And I'm curious about 5 more. Okay. I'm curious about yourself. Do you have any projects or anything coming up for the rest of the year or like next year that you're excited and allowed to talk about?
I'm talking with a couple of film directors, and I would like to do more films as well because,
nice.
But I'm really more interested in doing film about social cause. So anything about like political, social rights. I'm more into this. I have to say.
That's important.
Yeah,
like,
it's very important.
Thinking about like what is like the Marvin Gaye like "Go Tell on a Mountain," like when a good song becomes part of a political movement.
Exactly.
Like,
and I think it really the artists will be happy about that as well. And I think there's so much you can express through a track. So many like political message, social message through lyrics.
Yeah.
So I think it's music has a huge role. And if you read the books of James Baldwin,
Yes.
great movie, and that I recommend called "I'm Not Your Negro," which is like about James Baldwin. But sadly, when you read his books and his quotes, they are still relevant today. It's about like racism and gay rights. And so anything which is touching about all of this and the war and the world and the relationship of America with the world, like that is really what's interesting me. And because there's so much to be done with, like I'm really interested in music from all around the world, and I think that's where I can help. And the last thing I would say is like just continuing the radio, working on learning more on the production, music production. I have so much to learn why it will be called in New York. And I'm very interested in doing maybe some field recording. I have like some project in mind, but like basically this year is like gonna be more about creating.
Nice. That's what I like to hear. You were saying you just have been like messing around with modular a lot more as well, right?
I mean, I'm learning. I call it my little spaghetti bowl.
That's so cool. All right. So if you bring me to a French restaurant, you can come over and we can work on music.
At the French restaurant?
I said if you bring me to a French restaurant, I'll like bring you to my place, like my studio, and we can work on music.
Okay, approved. And then I'll bring the bottle of wine.
Yeah?
Great.
Perfect.
Merci.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the final thing that we do for the interview, I
Scared.
always give everybody a gift from a different like dollar store around New York.
Nice.
This is like a little like nice New York gift. And I have a very particular gift for you.
Wow.
It's over there.
The
I don't know if you.
clap?
It's kind of an obvious one.
No way.
It's a very obvious gift, but I
Because-
thought it would be useful.
Because I'm always red?
No,
Because I am.
because of your taste and the fact that you
I see.
share it with everybody else, and something like sriracha is something that you like have around and give to everybody else.
Oh, that's so nice. I am honored. Actually, it's great. It's perfect because yesterday I was thinking, oh, I don't have any hot sauce left.
Hey, perfect timing.
But also, I am. My friends call me the little framboise. Framboise means strawberry because I'm always red. I mean, tonight it's okay, but although I did tell you to film it in black and white for a reason.
That's perfect.
Thank
on
you
both
so much.
ends.
So it's like about, it's spicy.
Yeah, it's like a spicy.
It's worldwide, and it's about sharing.
Yeah,
I
guess
love
it's like less hot. What does it say? Yeah, it's like chili sauce. So it's to me it's like spicy ketchup. It's like the best way. So it's good because it goes on like pretty much everything. Like I put it on everything.
And it's good for sharing.
Yeah, it's really good for sharing.
I
Everybody
take
loves
it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for doing
Thank
this.
you to you.
I'm really glad that I get to talk to you
Yeah.
and also just know you.
Yeah, I'm the same here. I'm very honored. Very, very talented guys here. Follow them. Maybe you want to repeat the name of the collective.
Oh, what? This is not a club? Yeah.
Yes. And I really want to do the ending clap.
Yes.
If
All
I
right,
can.
let's
Thank
get
you
it
so
over
much,
here.
guys. Good luck to you. You are very talented. I believe in you. And this is the end.
Here we go, episode 5.